What's that red one over your eyebrow there? No, your other eyebrow.
So there's a C7R Corvette, Ferrari F8 Tributo, an old Corvette Stingray, Nissan GTR, Audi S1. No, not yeah, Quattro S1, McLaren F1,
My
and a
God, I
Land
tell you
Rover
that
Defender further up somewhere. And I've got a
that new
Countach
Corvette's a
downstairs.
monster, dude. I mean, they properly did,
200.
they did a proper, mid-engine rear drive. What a fucking beast!
I saw an old Corvette the other day on my way home from work.
Like, any idea what year range ish?
No, not. It's not the like Stingray shape. It was kind of the squarer one that came after that.
Oh, the embarrassment of the '80s.
Yeah, it looked very 80s. Yeah.
I tell you what, I drove the new one, and I was gonna trade in my Camaro and get that, but we are just on a crash fucking program of paying off the pittance of the remaining mortgage and buying that chunk of land. So that was another 120K that's going towards the land. So
Yeah.
I actually decided to forego a car over getting the fuck away from civilization. So that should tell you how things are going over here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things over
Live.
there, we are live. So tell us how things are over there. What have you been up to this last month?
Oh, fucking fantastic. Everything here is just rosy, peachy keen. So, no, I've actually been doing, I'm going to touch on this on a hardware flashback again. I did an initial review of that Amiga 500, just taking it out of the box and playing with it. My God, and the reason I'm going to expand on this in a hardware flashback because some people need some credit for some work. I spent hours and hours and hours configuring it so I could, because it comes with a carousel front end, which is like with the C64, where it basically boots into the emulator, and then you've got a modern, really slick high def background, and then it scrolls to the games. You hit go, it launches the game. You never see the Amiga OS or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had been twiddling and fiddling. And I got it to where I could launch the Kickstart ROMs, excuse me, and launch Workbench and everything else. And I was getting there, and then I look and see this other fellow had already done. He had the thing, I guess, a week longer than me, and he had already created a full build. And I was like, well, fuck, why reproduce? There's no victory in reinventing the wheel. So I tried like 2 different software loads. It's unbelievable. This thing, it boots right up, and it literally loads the Kickstart ROMs. It loads Workbench. You come up in Workbench. It's like the later version. It was like on the Amiga 4000. You've got something like 3,011 games already working in WHD installed. I mean, is it slick. A lot of good things to say about this. I have not seen an official proclamation yet of them doing a Maxi. I mean, they did the C64 Mini, then they did the Maxi, and everybody, to include myself, is saying, build the Amiga Maxi. A new production Amiga with native HDMI and everything is just mouthwatering. But I was looking on eBay, and you can literally get the new production Amiga cases. Amiga keyboards are not hard to find. And individual computers who have bought a lot of their products, they sell a Amiga keyboard to USB adapter. So it would be a fairly trivial matter for me to get an Amiga 500 or 1200 case, put this board in it with a keyboard and all. But, about the time I got all that stuff in and got it going and found time, they probably announced the Maxi, Obviously, this works with a keyboard. It just has to be an external one. The little display one is just, amusing. It's not real. But, man, they have just killed it again. These guys can do no wrong, I swear. And, the reason why I'll sort of expand on this just a bit in the heart, I mean, even though I'm going to talk about in the hardware flashback, I want to talk about it in the news, for the sort of larger picture and have you guys here, is this goes back to something I've been talking about for a very long time on this show, is that if you build a ship product and then try and cut off options, So like Nintendo fighting every ROM source in the world,
Mhm.
so that you'll buy their mini with 30 games because that's the only way you can get the games. That never works. But if you make a quality product, I don't care how many ways you have to play that or how many ROMs you have stolen from the internet. You're going to buy that thing and you're going to spend money, right? With the rights holder. So of course, Clanto, they're involved with this. They do a lot of the software on it. And this is, it's all an above board, product. Nothing bootleg here. I already have an Amiga. I have several Amigas. I've already got every Amiga stolen ROM ever. I've got every piece of licensed software that, you should pay for, whatever. I've got all that shit. We all do. But my God, man, the ability of this thing just to come out of the box, turn on and work and do such a wonderful job, to read Amiga discs, to read hard drive images, just with what it loaded. They fight you in no way are they fighting you to do what you want to do with the machine. And what you want to do with the machine is, okay, yeah, your loaded games are great. They're probably not my personal collection of favorites. So I just want to play my games. And they give you an express line. Sir, your games are right over here. Go right to them. Enjoy yourself. You bought the device. You own it. You play what you want. And you know what? I love this thing. As I said, the C64 is probably one of those once-in-a-decade retro products. They might do 2 once-in-a-decade retro products in 1 decade. They're that good at what they're doing with this. And this is the opposite of the Tallarico Chameleon. This is the opposite of the Coleco Chameleon. This is a proper product done right that puts no barriers in the way of the user experience. And you know what? Can't get enough of it. I'll buy plenty of them. So manufacturers, listen. I mean, just make a good product. Don't worry about running down some kid who's got a couple ROMs on his fucking website, or don't worry about cost reducing a product so it comes under the $39.99 price point. This thing's $150. I can't wait to pay $200-$250 for the full size one. Just do the right thing. Make a good product. We'll buy it. I promise it'll work out great. So, and have them in stock for purchase. There's a novel idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I'm telling you, fucking fantastic, this thing. So I've been Mr. Amiga. In addition to the Amiga and my otherwise minimal spare time, I have been playing through Borderlands. I beat Borderlands 2, and now I'm on to the pre-sequel, and I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through it. Retro, probably not. Came on to PS3. It certainly doesn't meet our requirement for retro. But I've been playing it, been loving it, and fucking fantastic. So that is my month in a nutshell.
Well, speaking of Amiga, I've been doing some Amiga stuff, but not in kind of the official way like you. I mentioned last month I was going to get a Pi 400, so I picked that up. And I've been messing around with, images for that, emulating computers. So I've been going through RetroPie and scraping some collections that I've not really explored before. Some of the Japanese stuff, the MSX, the Sharp X68000.
Whilst we're talking, Mike.
Yeah.
Sorry to barge into your monologue, but why? I wonder if Mike was sitting there half on the couch having a dream, and I just, hey, Mike, what's up? Jesus Christ, give me a warning. No, I'm gonna, while we're talking, I've got 2 images I'm gonna put up on the server for you, so I don't forget. My God, man, I'm telling you, there's some cool stuff. I got a great Pi image, and I've actually got a dedicated Pi with just an Amiga load on it. And I've done, I built like a crazy high res Amiga, like, at 4,000 with every part possible and whatnot. And I gotta say, it works. The Pi makes a great modern Amiga, but man, even already having that capability, this mini blows it. It's awesome. So go ahead, sir. Sorry, I'm just gonna get that stuff uploading.
All right. So I've been playing around with some of the computer stuff, the MXS, the Sharp 68000. Not really playing through many games, but just sort of dipping in and out as I've been going through them and scraping them and what have you. But I did pick up an Amiga image called Pi-Miga, which, as the name would suggest, gives you a Pi version of the Amiga. And it just runs great on this thing. And you can... so the image I got has everything in there already, but you can add stuff to a USB drive, just plug that in it mounts it as a drive in the Amiga OS. So I've been playing about with a Pi 400. I've been really impressed with it. And that's probably it for games, really, I think. Just messing around, setting stuff up and configuring things, which is half the fun for me anyway. I seem to sometimes spend more time tinkering with things, getting them working, rather than playing games at the moment. But hey-ho. TV-wise, I watched, started Stranger Things, no spoilers to be given here. I'm about 4 or 5 episodes into the latest one of those. I'm enjoying that. Almost finished a show that I'd not heard of until a couple of weeks ago called Catastrophe. It's like a 25-minute comedy. It's set in this country. It's got an Irish lead actress and an American lead actor. And they have a one-night stand. She gets pregnant. And I won't tell you any more than that, but it's pretty funny. So that
Now we'll never know how she got pregnant.
so that is worth a watch. I would recommend you do that. So we've talked some movie-wise. I watched a couple recently, nothing outstanding. A couple of old ones. But I saw a trailer for the new Predator 5, and it's gone the way that everything else seems to these days. It seems to be, just from the trailer alone, to have gone the woke route. We've got a little female fending off a predator, so I think
a girl with broomstick arms, flexes, and every man in the room cowers.
That's the one. So they did it with Terminator. They've now done it with Predator. So only seen the trailer. That's all that's out now, but it's not looking great for the new Predator. Show-wise, I've been listening to all our old interviews I mentioned last month. I finished the last one today. I've not gone through them in order. You know, if I've got an hour slot, then I'll pick an hour interview. So I've just been going through them at random, but I finished the last one today. There's just some great stuff in our old interviews. If you haven't listened to some in a while, go back and check some out. My favourite one is still, so we've done interviews that have great technical information. We've done ones that break new stories that, you know, we've believed one thing for decades and now we know another thing is true. But for me, my favourite is just the outright entertainment that Jeff Edwards brought to the show. Just a quality act. Yeah. The late Jeff Edwards, I should say now. And we actually joked about that. I can't remember if it was in the final edit. But we joked about, you know, it might be a year before we broadcast it, and he kind of joked about it himself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jeff Edwards, who sadly passed away recently. But yes, he has since passed away. But in that interview, he mentioned a book, because we talked about his later career, and his then career, when we spoke to him, was travel journalism. And he mentioned he had a book coming out, and I thought, oh my God, I bet that book's out now. So I went, looked on Amazon, just put in Jeff Edwards, and it was the top hit. And it's a book called Going All the Way, and it's about his attempts at 2 world cruises. And I'm just over halfway through that. It's amusing. I wouldn't say it's laugh out loud funny, but knowing Jeff, I'm kind of reading it, and I've got Jeff's voice in my head. And it's just a really good experience. So a good book, and I would recommend it if you're at all interested in Jeff Edwards or travel journalism or world cruises or ships that crash in the night. And that, I think, is about me. I'm off away this weekend. I'm going cycling the Monsell Trail, which, quick history lesson, but in this country in the 60s, our rail network was still publicly owned, and it was really inefficient. You know, we had little rural lines that simply went out to one village and took the mail kind of thing. You know, it predated the roads almost going out there, certainly for postal service. And in the late 60s, the government brought in Lord Beeching, who was then head of ICI, and he went through the whole rail network and scrapped lots of these rural lines, which was bad for railways, but good for the public purse, I guess, and good for walkers and cyclists now, because these things go through just some great countryside, and a lot of them have been, some of them are made into heritage railways, you know, where they brought the rails back, they've got steam trains on there, and you can go and blast along in a few miles of track. But a lot of them have been turned into trails. You know, they've got proper surfaces put down and you can walk and cycle. And this one we're doing this weekend, it's about 13 miles stretch out in the Peak District, and it goes over a viaduct, and it goes through 4 tunnels, and they've, you know, tarmacked inside the tunnels, and they've put lights up in there. It's great. I've walked about 4 or 5 miles of it a couple of years ago, but we're camping near one end of it this weekend, and we're going to cycle the whole thing, like I say, about 13 miles each way. And there's pubs along it, you know, the old stations, they've turned into pubs and things like that, and cafes. So that's what we're doing this weekend, and that is about my month, I think.
I used to go down the Monsell Trail very regularly. Used to do a lot of running training along it before so I used to walk the dogs before they opened the tunnels up again. So you used to have to go up the old lead mines and go round. And then when they first opened the tunnels, then we'd just run through them. And then, I've not really been really since for a while. It's got really, really busy. Certainly. But then I was usually there quite early. We still had Ray alive last time I went. Had a film camera with me. Took a few pictures that were all right. Yeah, nice little spot.
Mm-hmm. And there's one a few miles away. I don't know if you've been on that, the Tissington Trail.
Tissington. Yeah. Not as interesting, I think.
No.
From what I remember, it just seemed to remember it being a bit bored. But because there used to be I think it was Tissington that used to do the White Peak Marathon. Used to use that. But yeah, I was actually looking around there and around Cresswell a couple of days ago on the OS map and wondering about heading up there again at some point. So yeah, it's very nice. In terms of what I've been doing, it has been nice weather, and I've had the luxury of not having a wife and dog around, so been doing a fair bit of getting out and about the outdoors when there's not been the weekends where there's mountain bike racing and Formula One and British touring cars and Formula E all on at the same time, which has been quite a lot of time sat watching sport. I've just been plugging away at Red Dead Redemption 2, and then I was playing through Rogue Legacy on the Vita, which is sort of pixel art but modern roguelike 2D platform action game. Finished that, and I'm thinking of starting Final Fantasy X next, which is a bit more retro. But yeah, that's a bit it really gaming. I was sort of dabbled a little bit back in sort of finishing off Donkey Kong Country 2, but not really put much effort into it. But I did watch the Uncharted movie and Sonic 2. Sonic 2, again, sort of carried on, obviously, from Sonic 1.
I thought it was pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was maybe better. I recently rewatched Sonic 1. But there's a bit too much of there's all the Olive Garden jokes and, a lot of sort of cringy bits in like that, which they didn't seem to do as much in the second one. They sort of made, I think they're a bit more confident that it's going to sort of speak for itself. And yeah, enjoyed that. And similarly with Uncharted, it took me a little while to get into it. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. Certainly, probably better, definitely better than the Tomb Raider films that they did, but along a similar kind of line, I guess, with a bit of plundering sort of action, but then also with a bit of sort of more urban thievery slant as well, which obviously fits the character. Whether you need to really, it doesn't really do much with Uncharted as a franchise. You don't really need to be a fan of it or really be that aware of it. I don't think it just sort of it's just a typical sort of action adventure film on its own. Couple of moments in there are a bit weird. Certainly things like how the fuck did that end up there where it is, or a woman who's driving the most how am I trying to put this? Not inconspicuous.
Inconspicuous.
Sort of, Well, but it's not
Obvious?
Conspicuous.
Obvious, yeah. A ridiculously conspicuous four-wheel drive vehicle through, I think it's Barcelona. Yeah, it's just like I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be wanting to try and attract attention, and so it sticks out like a sore thumb. Very strange.
I
but-
worked with this girl one time, and she was trying to remember a word, and she was like, like when something is like mysterious, like a mystery. I'm like, a mystery? That's the one.
It's crazy shit like that. Women, I think it's hormonal because my ex-wife went through a phase of that for maybe 8 to 10 months, something like that, and she could not use the right words. She once called a lamppost a pelican, and she'd stumble for words, and like that, they were the most simple words. So I think some crazy shit goes on in the brains at certain times.
Maybe.
Dude, I was driving home from work the other day. The phone was ringing, and normally, if it's not a number I don't recognize, I don't answer. And every now and then I will, just for my own amusement, right? So I answer the phone. I get the, hello, I'm Bob from Microsoft. I'm like, hi, Bob. He goes, well, what is your name? My name is Prasad Hasapim Alaikum. And he's like, oh, I am. He goes into his little scam pitch, right? And so all of a sudden he goes, your name is not Prasad. I'm like, I know. And he goes, your name is Parachute. I'm like, well, fuck me. You win.
You
Watch
got
me
me.
parachute on out of this conversation, motherfucker.
Yeah. I was like, well, you just go home and shit in your spackle bucket and put that dirty sheet back over you and try and pretend your life isn't as bad as it is. Maybe if you tried working for a living instead of stealing.
Speaking of parachuting, there was, the airfield we went to, Scott, near me. Barton, yeah. There was a light aircraft came down in a field not too far away a couple of weeks ago.
I saw that.
Yeah. They both made it. They're both okay, but, yeah, it ended up upside down in a field.
Yeah, I saw, there's a guy I follow, on YouTube, his channel is like Manchester Ring. He's a ham radio guy. And he goes through it, some of the radio history of, not just Manchester, but a lot of England. And, I'm sure maybe you know way more about this. Maybe you never heard of it. But they have a series of radio services that were intended. One was intended to put radios in like retirement homes. And the other one was to put radios in like disabled people, like with dimensional. It's a very simple radio.
Mm.
And so they would have these specialized receivers, right? And I think it was like a university or school project that did the actual broadcast service. So what a brilliant thing. I mean, you got like a journalism class and they're learning how to do broadcasting by providing a special service, So if it's bad, who's going to care?
Yeah.
So he does a lot of neat stuff. Like he was talking about how the TV detection vans worked and how they could figure out what you were watching or listening to on a radio, and what correctly, by identifying the intermediate frequency that's used to down mix the incoming RF, right? Mm. So, man, that's, anyway, he was going on and on about a lot of those things. And he mentioned, we had a big event, and I went and looked at the news article about it, and yeah, those things happen, kind of like car crashes happen. It's less frequent, than car crashes, but I've only had one exciting moment in aviation, and I don't want to have any others. So.
Yeah. There's a bit in Jeff Edwards' book about when he takes a short flight somewhere, and he ends up sat in the co-pilot's seat just because of room. But then flying back, he's sat at the back and he's watching the pilot who was, he says, about 23 and not very experienced, and they've got a crosswind, and he's sat in the back panicking.
Yeah, I got to get that book, man. Jeff is just, man, he is a great dude.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, is it time for some news then? That is what we're here for after all. So we touched on movies earlier. David Gyrick sent the first one in here. A Gran Turismo movie is coming. He says, not my first Sony property choice to make into a movie, but they are going to do it anyway. And I just hope it... I can see it turning into a Fast and Furious, of which I've watched one and bailed. So...
I thought I'd heard that it's going to be... no, it's gonna follow like
a career.
You know how there was like a guy who I can't remember who he was now, who basically won the Gran Turismo. Well, I can't what they used to call it. Basically the sort of there was an esports competition type thing, and then they gave him a drive in Nürburgring 24. I think it's something along those lines, rather than Fast and Furious or anything.
Yeah. Let me just put this camera on a sec,
good,
and I'll show you what I'm drinking this month. So I think it was a couple of months ago I had a Bullet Bourbon, and I love the old kind of Western-style bottles on this. And this one is a rye version, which is a lot better than the normal one. It's a lot smoother. It's pretty good stuff. It's a Bullet 95 rye. It's pretty nice.
Got one here from Gareth Hamer. And it won't get you drunk, but you can fly like you're drunk. So in 1997 at E3, Maxis showed off Simcopter for the Nintendo 64, right? And it was never seen again after that. So it was presumed to be lost to history. But a guy found a playable cart and posted on a thread. And then the video was deleted. I don't know why. But it looks like it was a pretty colorful, high res. It doesn't look crazy to me. I mean, it looks like it may have been, I don't know, playability. You never know from just looking at a video. Hopefully this gets dumped and shared. It doesn't say that it has, but hopefully it does. I always despise it when people get a hold of these rare carts or the one arcade board, and then they won't share the ROMs. Man, if I pledged before our audience, if I ever find something like that, it's getting shared that day. There's no way I'm gonna just not for you people.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah,
mine.
Yeah, I remember I was listening to a podcast that Frank Cifaldi was on, and around the time this happened, and it sort of
he discovered
reminded
the whole
him
chameleon thing is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually had, so the whole Simcopter thing, I can't remember the full story of it, but yeah, they're like, because they couldn't find it and then they found it, but he was like, I'm pretty sure, and I've showed all you guys, like meaning the other guys on the podcast, that I've had this lying around the office for years. Like I've got this somewhere. And like if they're gonna try and sell it for loads of money, I've got it and I'll dump it. And it's just like, and then like a bit later he's like, yes, I've spent 3 days turning this office upside down. And I haven't got a fucking clue where I put it. And I lend it to someone. So yeah, a couple of them out there perhaps, but yeah. So it's good when they show up. Good when they get dumped. People get to experience them. Something else that was lost for a while. This was from What's on My Shelf. And he says, do you ever cull bookmarks? While listening to RGR 178's new segment on interesting army men and Lego men explorers, I believe that was my the men venturing into the vagina. He said, I was reminded of some deleted bookmarks showing Lego creators' shmup builds. Thankfully, I still had the backup. And he sent some links in, and they're pretty fucking cool models of various R-type variations that there's been over the years. There's like Vic Viper squads, things like that. They're really, really quite well done builds. So thank you very much for sending those in. I will certainly use them for inspiration. I did have a bit of a period last year making sort of small-scale wipeout style ships, which was quite good fun. But I've not really delved into sort of shmup type ships. So yeah, I don't know why I haven't. Might have a play.
Well, something else I'm not sure about. I've got a link here in my notes, but it isn't in the email box, so maybe it got deleted in junk or whatever. But it's a video, a documentary on Slopes' YouTube channel, which you should check out. And he's done a documentary on the Jack and Daxter series. So it will be in the show notes, even if it isn't in the email inbox. As will all the other links that we talk about tonight, of course. Of which this is one, sent in again by David Gyrick, and it's a Monkey Island interview. So Ron Gilbert posted on April 1st on his personal blog that he was making a new Monkey Island game, and people didn't know whether to believe it or whether it was an April Fool. Turns out it wasn't. He later confirmed it was true, and he is working on a new game. And there is an article here and interview with him on The Verge. So that will be one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, another one from David Gyrick, and I think this might feature a little bit in this month's news. This is a video on Sharopolis's YouTube channel, which is deep dive into the NES port of Elite, which they've titled it "The Impossible Port?" question. So yeah, not a news that many people on this hosting this show do not really like Elite, but I'm certain they have an appreciation for what the NES was designed to do and what it can do, and how doing wireframe 3D graphics and the like was not really its forte. So yeah, it's only a sort of 15-minute one, so I might have to also have a look at that, maybe learn something.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
So got one here from Gareth Hamer, and it is a new Evercade handheld, the EXP, which I believe you can now buy. When he sent this, it was in the works, or maybe it's still on pre-order. Evercade, of course, is the one where you buy collections of cartridges and take them on the go with you with this handheld. And interestingly, this one can be tipped vertically, so you can play games that suit a vertical screen better. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Random, you'll probably know. Wasn't there already an Evercade handheld? Is this a new one?
Yes, the Evercade was what they did first, which took cartridges, and then they made the Versus sort of console system that took the same cartridges but let you have two controllers and hooked up to a TV.
Right.
And then this is the next sort of evolution.
Right. The same
so
cartridges again, I assume.
I presume it would be the same cartridges, because all the cartridges is a sort of the ROM and a sort of an emulation runtime. So it's not, it's not using what's on the system in terms of emulation. So as long as, I guess it's got to be fairly, well, it could be, it could be the same family of ARM, and it will then just, be able to run the same binaries. I think that's how the cartridges work anyway. So yeah, I should think it'll take stuff, and then they'll have obviously specific cartridges that take advantage of the vertical screen layout.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was the? I guess, well, the Switch sort of dabbled with it, and people made the Flip Grit. But in terms of dedicated handhelds,
you could do it on the
one...
PSP and play the pinball games vertically. The Gottlieb and the was it Williams? Gottlieb and I think it was Williams Hall of Fame series.
Yeah, I think it was only the Wonders one though. It's had sort of a layout of buttons that gives you a comparable experience both ways round.
Yeah.
What was the links did? Was it just that it allowed you to play upside down if you were left-handed or something? Or did that do a vertical?
You could
might have done
that had two-player games, didn't it? The Atari Lynx, that had two-player games, didn't it? You could both play at once.
I've got a Lynx, I don't know.
I can't remember whether it just flipped it, like mirrored the screen so that you could play with, turn the handheld 180, or if it also sort of allowed some vertical games. Because obviously, being Atari, a lot of their arcade stuff would have suited a vertical layout. No. Got one here from Dave Lanky, who says, another month, another scammer. And this is a Kotaku article about Enrico Ricciardi, who has been in the retro PC game collector market. And it turns out since about 2015, he's been selling fake games as originals, basically sort of reproductions, and it turns out quite poorly reproduced printed labels. Basically lots of fake PC games that he's been selling as for quite a high price. And so, they reckon around $100,000 he's scammed out of the community. What a shyster.
Dirty scammer.
Whoa! Hey, so I was reading. I was pulling up the next article and previewing it. Run that by me again for the benefit of the host.
This guy's they've some people have been buying. He's been selling PC games. As original big box PC games for since 2015, and they've recently found out, sort of by analysing them a bit more closely, that it turns out he's not been doing a very good job of basically making reproductions and selling those as originals. And then since obviously it sort of came out, people then started comparing all of what they bought to sort of other real, known real genuine versions, and found that there's a lot of sort of bad photocopying on the labels and things like that. And so he's gotten away with scamming the community out of about $100,000 worth of games over the last 7 years.
Wow, that's some Mr. Lee shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, speaking of scamming filthy animals, the Russians and the Belarusians, and Belarus, I think that's the brown clingies, the dingleberries around the asshole, the Russians, they are getting cut off from microcontrollers. This was sent in by Gareth Hamer. Thank you, sir. Kind of off topic, but we like to go off-roading on this show. And Taiwan is restricting Russia, Belarus to CPUs under the 25 megahertz frequency. So basically they're saying, you're not getting anything you can use. So good. Or, it'd be great is to take their money and send them a fucking a whole box of fucking inert chips, or just something to actually, or dude, I don't think it'd be too hard to do. Just have a routine so when it boots up, it counts the number of boots, and when it gets to like 6 or whatever number will get through testing, it overwrites the firmware area or something, right? And just renders the thing inert, and all their shit just starts breaking in the field. That would be fucking great. I'd buy a steak dinner for whoever did some shit like that.
Sell him one of the SD cards, the micro SD cards little Ben bought. I think it was a 64, was it 64 gig one? And it turned out to be like 8 gig cards, and it just would not format in anything.
Wow.
Well, I think it was. I think it was like just an 8 gig card, but it had some trickery in it, logic in it that it basically, if you told it to go like beyond that 8 gig, it just wrapped around the address, so you just kept rewriting over the same 8 gigs, which isn't ideal.
No.
I'll tell you something else that isn't ideal. Gareth Hamer sent in another article, and no, that is ideal. There's everything ideal about Gareth Hamer. He's the ideal listener, let's put it that way. And article here out of Nintendo Life that Sega announces the Mega Drive 2 for overseas markets. Western releases still unconfirmed. Now, I've got one of the Mega Drives. I thought it was a pretty good little unit. There have been so many good little units lately. They're not like fucking killer app products like the C64 or whatever, but they've done some good. The Nintendo Mini is pretty good. I mean, you have to fight them to play the ROMs you want, But that they're doing a Mega Drive too, that would be cool. I personally would like to see a little mini Sega CD or something like that. But
Well,
yeah,
you're in
wouldn't
luck
be well.
because it's going to have a CD
It plays the
along.
games.
Yeah. Well, no, and they're
What?
making a little. You'd be able to buy an add-on, like just a fake CD drive, CD unit. The same way in Japan they did with the original. They did the Tower of Power, and you could buy the CD one to go with it, and a 32X, and a fake cartridge. They like to do that in
I'd kind of
Japan.
like to see not so much fake but functional.
Well, yeah.
I'd pay more for that. But that said, I absolutely love the look of the first gen CD with the first gen Sega Genesis. That's like one of my favorite. Just aesthetically, it was such a cool looking thing at the time and now. So, anyway, Gareth, thank you very much.
Yeah, also sent in by who was it? David Gyrick sent it in, and Spinal. So yeah, looking forward to that. Whether it will get a Western release, we don't know. You'd hope so.
Well, something that did get a release sent in by Thomas Sylvester is an arcade machine called Faster Than Speed. He said, "Hey guys, this weird cab was in a laundromat here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I couldn't play this to verify."
I was just in Chattanooga.
You should have gone and checked this machine out. He said he
I
couldn't.
didn't know about it.
He couldn't verify if you actually did go faster than speed, but he heard the main cars are the Toyota Supra and the Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Crips. I'd kind of like to own a Toyota Supra. Actually, no. So, brief sideline. I do have a Yotoya pickup truck. There's to me, one of the great model companies in history. They have a line that they've actually been revamping since the 70s of the Toyota Hilux pickup. And, when it came out in the late 70s, it had, smaller tires, wheels. It was very scale looking. Now we're talking about, when the average model car was plastic, and very modelly. This thing was all metal, axles, leaf springs. I mean, it is a miniature version of the real thing. It's extraordinarily beautiful. And they were about $1,500. They released another version of it in the 80s that had, bigger, a lift kit and bigger tires. Sort of the monster truck craze of the 80s. They released it again in 96. I bought one in Germany. And then they released it again as like a re-release that to me has been doing a lot of re-releases of their vintage kits. Anyway, one of those companies, the one that makes that real high-res model of the Patriot missile launcher and the Hummer and all, one of their first sort of initial products is they made a clone, to the screw copy of the Tamiya. And it's literally $300 for this kit that's normally $1,500, and it's a beautiful copy. They did everything right. Now I bought 4 of the damn Tamiya ones. They've got my money. I don't feel guilty about buying these clones, but so I've bought several of these things and done mods like a double axle or a giant lift, things I always wanted to do. But you don't want to cut up or modify a $1,500 model as much as you do a $300 one. But the way they sell it, because they don't have the licensing, is they do call it a Yotoya. But that's I thought so.
Toy boater schooner. So are you gonna
go on?
It's just something we both keep starting and stopping. Yeah. So following on from the Mega Drive Mini news, this one sent in by David Gyrick, and I remember seeing it. But he brings up an interesting point. So the gist of it was they did an interview with some guys at Sega and asked about whether there was, a Saturn or a Dreamcast could be on the works. And they explained that, it would be expensive to implement. They've got to figure out, what kind of hardware they'd need, which would be more expensive than the Genesis. They've already got the Genesis, it's probably quite likely that the Genesis is going to be exactly the same internally. They just make a new mold and put a different ROMs on it. and we all know that the molds for a console is
Dude,
29,000% of the battle.
89.
But he does bring up a good point. He says, though, considering how expensive things like the Astro City Mini are, and they're still produced and bought, clearly there's a market for people who wouldn't mind paying the extra for the Saturn or the Dreamcast. And I think he's probably on to something, because the Dreamcast fans are a fucking crazy bunch. So, yeah. I mean, the Saturn I'm a bit iffy on, because I mean, it's certainly the least performant of the sort of PlayStation N64.
It
Saturn
is, but
era.
then the Dreamcast community, as avid as they are, they've already got Dreamcasts. And yes, like Scott said before, they'll support a good product. But how many Saturns are out there running? And how many people have got original Saturn games? Yes, the avid fans have, but generally, I would say very few.
True.
Yeah, that one just got ignored. I mean, I remember when it appeared in the stores, and it was like, it's there, nobody cares. They didn't sell any, it went away. It was just that fast.
Yeah, it's just, I do enjoy a bunch of the games on it, and I've had mine out recently again. But yeah, there's no denying that it's just not up to par with the PlayStation, and the PlayStation sort of flopped a bit, didn't it? Certainly with the mass market crowd. So I think if that struggles in the Saturn,
it was overpriced.
Yeah, but it's going to be. I mean, from the sounds of things, a Saturn or a Dreamcast would have to be quite highly priced as well.
Yeah,
comparatively, perhaps.
Oh, and the replica or reintroduction, whatever, mini of the PS1 was comical in its execution of. No, I mean, you just look at it and go, you're asking for how much? Wait, it has less than most other minis, and it's like nearly twice as much as no, this is dumb.
Yeah, it was a bad product until it was. I managed to get one for about 20 quid. Then it was
a bad product, and they should feel bad for making it.
Yeah.
You know who else shouldn't feel bad is David Gyrick. This dude is a submission machine. He found a video on YouTube, passed along to us, that it says even their internal safety videos are in universe. So it's a Nintendo internal safety video. Now it says one of the funny things is the sort of the boilerplate that comes up in the pause screen is Nintendo wants to remain an environment free from the effects of drugs and alcohol. Use or possession of illegal drugs or alcohol, at work or on the premises is prohibited. You got an Italian plumber chasing animated mushrooms through a magical kingdom while a giant dragon is after you. If that doesn't sound like the exact sort of thing that somebody might narrate while being exceptionally fucking stoned or tripping, I don't know what is. But there's also fancy tips on footwear, on the number of work days lost from accidents, how to stand on a ladder, how not to stand on the ladder, all kinds of stuff. I'd say it looks 2005 era, plus or minus 5 years, but 2004. I was within a year. So I don't know if you're gonna watch the whole thing, but it's kind of funny that it's out there.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing. I did watch it though when it came in, skipped through it. Another one I watched, again from Gareth Hamer, and this is a new retro-inspired arcade game coming to Steam, and it is called Donut Dodo. And it's kind of Donkey Kong-esque in some of the levels. You've got ladders, you've got elevators, jumping up and down, you've got things spinning in the middle that you can jump on and off. Looks quite interesting. I've no idea of the price because I've not gone on Steam and looked, but... there's a link there. Should we see if that opens, or will it make me log in? £4.99 in the U of K. So you can check out
Bargain.
Donut Dodo on Steam. Yeah, it is a bargain.
Gareth Hamer also sent one in saying it's just too hard, which I thought was him sending something in about my penis, but it's just him sending in another duplicate of the article about the Saturn and the Dreamcast Mini not getting made. But I did also just remember that in terms of gaming, I missed out last week on our multiplayer night, getting together with the boys to play the new Turtles beat 'em up game. But over the weekend, I did sneak a bit of time to myself to sort of play through a few levels, and that seems pretty cool. It's got the sort of modern beat 'em up evolution that we've been having. So you've got sort of wall juggling, air juggling, lots of different sort of combos. But if you want, you can just sort of button bash your standard combo through. But it's got really cool pixel art, really cool music, and yeah, it sort of takes a lot of inspiration from the Konami arcade one and sort of various other ones. But as I say, sort of gives it a bit of a modern kick up the arse as well. So yeah, well worth checking that out if you're thinking about it.
Something else you can check out is another Gareth Hamer one here. Doom Can Still Shock Us. Apparently, you can now play Doom directly from your motherboard with a BIOS update. There is a list of the motherboards supported here. The latest Doom port comes via a payload in your BIOS. That is, if you run Core Boot, formerly known as Linux BIOS, an open source BIOS compatible with several motherboards, you can run Doom directly on it. Or you could just play the game normally, whichever.
Now, it is a pretty limited list. Like, unless you have a Google Osiris or a Clevo L14MU laying around, you ain't doing it.
No.
But I do. It's cool. You know what? I've got a mouse here that I'm going to try and get Doom to run on. And it's a, what is it? The Hyso J500, right? Look this thing up. It's pretty cool. It's got like a 25 millimeter by 25 millimeter screen inside the mouse. And I'm going to see if I can get Doom to run on it.
Speaking of Doom running on things, I didn't end up sending it in by the looks of things, but
me neither.
The old the old
Whatever it was,
the Lego bricks that you'd get for like the space theme, and they'd have basically a screen printed command console on it, sort of thing. Some guys modified a transparent brick with a tiny little screen and a tiny little controller that microcontroller that basically gave an actual terminal screen embedded in this Lego brick. And then about a week later, I then saw a follow-up news article that they then got Doom running on that. So you can run Doom on a 2x2 sloped Lego brick.
Another one from Gareth Hamer, and it's a pretty funny story here. It's Bill and Ted's Excellent Retro Collection for PS5. PS4 is totally bogus. Now, I thought, what did they do, a fake game or April Fools? They were some shitty games. I remember the Bill and Ted games, kind of like the Simpsons games, were just, huge property, giant disappointment. So, yeah, apparently they put some sucky games onto a compilation cart and or disc and put it out there to the world without apology.
Oh dear. Just to quickly touch on Gareth Hamer, I this evening have added a new role in our Discord server called Newshounds and added him to that. I've been having a bit of fun with the roles recently, so I also gave Birdman the role of top 10 chief creative officer because of all the top 10s he's been suggesting. So if you want to get involved with the show and become a regular sort of helper in that way, you might get yourself a little fancy role on our server as well. What more could you want?
Nothing.
Exactly.
One here from David Gyrick, and it is a Sega executive, Hidekazu Yukawa, who has passed away aged 78 this month, or the end, June 2021. He died of pneumonia. Let's have a look at what he did. He took on the role of managing director in '98, ahead of the release of the Dreamcast in December that year. He was also well known as Mr. Sega during his stint on account of his appearance in several comedic adverts promoting the launch of the console. He also appeared in several games, including Shenmue and DLC for Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, he was the guy on
Shenmue,
the Dreamcast
amazing.
box,
Sonic
wasn't he?
Adventure, not so much.
Oh man, Sonic! Fucking hell, that was the other thing I played. Sonic 2006 was on sale, so for shits and giggles, I thought, well, I've actually been sort of looking to buy that cheap for a number of years just to actually see if it's as bad as everyone makes out, and it's worse. I couldn't believe how broken it is. I'm like
Even you
properly
feel
stuck
cheated.
Yeah, I'm properly stuck on like level 2 because it just fucking throws you all over the place and it's impossible to control. Absolute shit show of a product, and it's looking like the new Sonic might follow in its footsteps. So stay tuned.
That's how I felt when I first played Sonic on the Dreamcast. And it was like through this open world thing. I'm running around. I'm like, there's nothing to do, and he doesn't handle very well. I hope this gets better. It didn't.
No. By comparison to Sonic 2006, the Dreamcast Sonic Adventure is almost a masterpiece. So
that's not a good endorsement.
No.
Something else that might be a masterpiece. Oh.
Our listeners that keep sending in great links. This one here, though, comes from a comment, Alan Hegedus. He says, it was referring to the new SNES and Famicom systems. Haven't seen these before. They appear to be new devices. Pretty cool. Possibly a future hardware flashback subject. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about them. I just, I did the Amiga. After a deeper dive, I'm going to be talking about it again. It's really cool. And yeah, I mean, as stuff comes along, I do jump on it. So yeah, we'll be talking about it.
Let's see, yep. One I've got here, which is from David Gyrick again. He says, this is not as long as the Bomberman one, but still a solid way to spend a day learning about a franchise. It's probably not a franchise that Mike would want to learn about, but it's a 3-hour, 20-minute video all about the history of the Double Dragon series by Top Hat Gaming Man, who from the start of the video looks like a man with games wearing a top hat. So... as described.
So one here, it got flagged as spam, but it isn't. And this is from Charlie, who says the EU mandates USB Type-C charging port to become the new standard for most electronic devices. Much to Apple's annoyance. So the iPhones sold in Europe, and as he says, most other mobile electronic devices will have to use the USB-C port as standard. Doesn't affect the UK because, of course, we left the EU. And no news on whether they will be adopting it here. But... Say again?
So that Brexit thing, solid idea.
Yeah. So no news on whether we're going to follow suit and make them do it here, but it will affect Europe from, I think, 2024, something like that. So they've got a little while yet. And there'll be appeals, don't you worry. So,
it's a mixed bag. Those mandates, here in the U.S. we had one that had some good merits. Generally, I think the government should butt the fuck out of product design because if there's anything they're bad at, it's everything. And I can't imagine the government helping make a product better. I mean, there are certain roles, like, say, safety of medicines to ensure they don't contain, dangerous compounds or things they're not supposed to, or whatever. But generally not physical products, like mechanical things. Well, they mandated in '96 what's called OBD2, which is now the global standard for diagnostic ports, so that any garage with an OBD2 reader can dump the trouble codes, and because every manufacturer had their own proprietary system, and it was getting to be a giant mess. And a lot of good came out of that. But that's about the only example I can think of. I don't know about this. I mean, if you always got, like, Sony's always trying to shove some unworkable proprietary standard down the throat, and then the industry goes another direction. if Apple wants to go use their little lightning thing and whatnot, and everybody you do USB-C, I don't see how that's the purview of the government, of any government, to bother with that. I mean, because what some government bureaucrat thinks, oh, I dropped my cord and I need a second one, and this is inconvenient. I'm going to make a law. How the hell is that a thing?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what does have a USB-C charging port for its dock. The Manscaped
Mandatory?
4.0. Let me whiz this up here on the feed, and you can see it right there, the Performance Package 4.0. So you can grab yourself the gift that keeps on trimming. Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have got you covered, or, as we say every month, should we say uncovered. So you can join the over 2 million men around the world who trust Manscaped to keep their gentleman gardens in order. And Random's about to show his on camera right now. Is it just his boxers?
Not the full
He's stopping
garden,
at the boxers.
Just
Had a weird
boxers.
SoCal flashback moment there. You can check out the Performance Package 4.0, which contains the Lawnmower 4.0, the Landmark Trimmer with its skin-safe technology. It's even waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. And as I mentioned, it has wireless charging. Also included in the pack is the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. And not only that, you get what you've just seen on camera. The Manscaped anti-chafing boxers. Mine are all washed and packed ready for my day cycling on Saturday. I've specifically saved them just for that day. And if that isn't enough for you, you will also get the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Again, waterproof and with a 9,000 RPM motor. All our listeners love technology, so they are going to love the wireless charging using electromagnetic induction. So you can get yourself 20% off plus free shipping, as Random said in the top 10, with the code RGRoundup at manscaped.com. That's the code RGRoundup at manscaped.com for free shipping and 20% off. Do it today.
You know those mass nude bike rides they have, like especially over in like
Oh, do
Sheffield.
stuff?
Yeah, no,
I
they
like
had
random
one in
stuff. See,
They had one in
random rock
Sheffield about
that.
10 years ago, and they've not done it again since. I couldn't make that one, and I've been waiting for them to do another, and it's like, they'd never do it. And my best bet is to head to Manchester or York, and that's just a lot of effort.
See, now a svelte young random here. This is his jam. Me and UK show up, we're gonna look like a couple of deshelled mollusks. So
I think you'll find in the nudist community there's a lot of disheveled mollusks.
I said deshelled, not disheveled. Jesus, you hurtful bastard.
No, I know, yeah. There's no need to get personal, for fuck's sake.
Speaking of getting personal, David Gyrick sent another link. This one is from Kotaku. He says, it's not really retro, but I know how much Scott hates this game. Yes. And maybe this article will explain why it turned out so badly. I started reading this article, just for a preview here. You'll link in our notes as always. I'm going to take the time to give this a full and proper read. I sort of did a little skim, and it looks like it actually has some answers in it. The human toll of Fallout 76 disastrous launch. Former ZeniMax developers claim Fallout 76 was severely mismanaged. So, sort of the opening paragraph. No one wanted to be on that project because it ate people. It destroyed people. One former developer told Kotaku, the amount of people that would go into that project and then would quit Bethesda was quite high. Kotaku spoke to 10 former employees at Bethesda and the parent company ZeniMax, who were familiar with the development, all who shared the accounts only with the condition of an anonymity. When you don't tell someone who he is. Some sources said that they signed non-disparagement agreements upon leaving the company. Is it disparagement if it's true? And feared that ZeniMax's influence industry would prevent them from being hired elsewhere. Testers who worked in the months leading up to the original launch said they crunched 10-hour days for 6 days a week as the game trudged forward to the beta's optimistic release date of November 14th. Some testers would only find reprieve when they finally left the Fallout 76 team. Two former testers recounted that one of their colleagues in the QA group said after a chat, I didn't cry last night when I was taking a shower. And the other one said, I pulled into work today, sat in my car for a second, and my chest didn't feel heavy like it normally does. Yeah, like they're basically saying what a shit sandwich this thing was. And nobody listened to them. And it just kept like, it's going to be awesome or else. And it wasn't awesome or else. So, but what's amazing to me, dude, this article is like a mini book. I really am looking at reading this. It says here, I find it absolutely disgusting that Howard said Bethesda was really managing the crunch because it means that he was either really ignorant of what was going on or he didn't consider, the factors at play here. Yeah, I want to read it because it is so uniquely bad. How does something like that get that far? How does something like that get released? I mean, in the first 90 seconds, I could tell this isn't good. And
well, yeah.
I want to know how it happened.
Sunk cost fallacy. I think a lot of it, gets to a point where like, well, we've put this much money into it. We've just got to put it out and hope that we can get enough back on microtransactions eventually to recoup the costs, I guess. I mean, they're still at the Xbox showcase for E3, not E3 this year. They're still announcing big expansion pack for it. They haven't just killed it. So there must be some players still out there.
Why?
How do you not fix it though? How do you not just go look? Just be honest and go look. You've seen it. We've seen it. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna relaunch in 6 months. No charge to the purchasers, and we're gonna make this right. Do you realize what that would do for like brand loyalty? People go, they're all right. At least I would. But yeah, this thing's looking forward to reading it. So
it's probably easier to make Fallout 7 rather than go back and fix it. So Gareth Hamer sent one in earlier. Why? With regard to the Bill and Ted launch on PS4 and 5. And he sent one here a couple of days later. Another why. And this is the infamous 3DO romantic comedy Plumbers Don't Wear Ties is hitting PS4 and 5 this year. It's widely regarded as one of the worst games ever made, but in this era of unexpected ports, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties is a prime candidate for physical re-release for limited run games. Haven't played it. I've got the ISO of it on 3DO. I probably won't play it because it was one of those that sort of went FMV, but didn't actually use FMVs. It uses stills, and it was just panned on launch, but yet they're bringing it back. So I agree with Gareth Hamer. Another why. Why?
Did we touch on the, or are we touching on the Amico update sent in by David Gyrick?
Oh, let's, because there's lots of no new. I mean, yes, we should touch on it.
Yes, because I think so. This is from earlier in the month, where basically they were saying, we've reined in the operating costs, significant reduction in staff. We're going to soldier on. But then I'm sure I saw something more recently that they've just kind of defaulted on a load of. Oh no, it was the patents, wasn't it? The most recent one, the trademarks.
The trademarks died.
Yeah, they let them lapse, like SoCal forgetting to renew his website domain names. And it's funny how these things are cyclical and keep repeating themselves, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. They sent me a lovely email this month again. Saying they try and make it sound like it is going to come out without saying it's going to come out. It's a good balancing act that they do, but They fall the wrong side of scam for me at this stage. Did you see, you see like baseball games and stuff, and people make funny signs and hold them up to get on TV? I think I posted it in WhatsApp maybe. There was a guy holding up a sign at like a sports game that said, "I got scammed by the Amico."
Yeah, I think it was,
Really?
it was
Yeah.
and Dan Reichert, who is worked at Giant Bomb. He's back at Giant Bomb now. Went to work as a podcaster for the WWE for a while. He went to a wrestling event and took the sign, and managed to get himself on there.
On the
That's
jumbotron.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Somebody else got the joke. But so I something about this whole Amico scam and the way it's still sort of shuffling on now. What's the goal? It's not going to get made. They have no money left. No one's going to give them money. It's a partially developed product, and we know that. I don't want to betray any trust, and you guys know what I'm thinking here. I don't want to say anything that, because I think we have been extremely cautious with knowing some of the things that we know, not to go and blurt them out, out of respect and integrity, with some friends of ours. I have heard from other sources things that confirm things other people have said. So I don't want to. I'll say it as delicately as I can, and stay in as in the clear as I can about this. Apparently, from what we're hearing, things don't even exist. Like computers aren't even plugged in. People aren't in any buildings because there aren't any buildings. That the remnants of the physical assets are in the hands of some people that may have had something to do with the company on some level, and that there is nothing else there. There are no developers working on anything. There is no customer service there to read the email about things. That's what we're hearing. And I get another email from them. They took my money. They say, "Hey, give us money. You're gonna get a founder's console." All right. And then all this shenanigans comes up that they've done everything that has been not what they've been accused of, but everything that's been demonstrated of what they've done. So I just can't imagine how they don't just call it quits. What's the game? What are they playing at? They don't have anything, but they're still out there talking the talk, Is there some sort of compulsive, like, I can't stop pretending like I have a console thing? Is like SoCal, because remember we saw SoCal after, like, it was dead, and it kept, like, it was like time of death 3:33. No, clear! And they just kept trying to fucking jolt it back. What do you guys think? What the fuck?
I mean, you said it there. No one's going to give them any money, but I think that is just the end goal now, to get the people who've put money in their money back. It's not about the public getting a console. It's not about finishing what they've started. It's about just trying to rekindle losses from people. I think that's all it can be at the moment. I don't think that's
their intent. I think that's presuming some sort of integrity on their behalf. I doubt I will ever get that money back. It's not a large amount of money. But I don't see that I'll ever get that back. At this point, I would rather have, honest to God, the console, such as it is, even if it's like literally unbootable, just, the shell, for the goof. I'd rather have that for the money than get the money back just for the fucking goof.
Yeah, just like, fuck it, just whatever you can find in your office that might have some sort of, like, letterheads, stationery.
Yeah, you got an official Amico hat? Fuck it, keep the
Yeah.
money. I'll take the official Amico hat. I mean, I love
Give me a
having
polo
that
shirt to
Amico
put with the Coleco Chameleon one.
I know. I've got the Calico Chameleon. It's over there. It's going. I would love having that as well as this. Oh well.
I'm trying to send
Oh,
an email.
So,
here.
well-
Another one. Go on, you do one while I try
yeah,
and
while
figure this out.
Mike's rummaging around. I sent one in, and earlier on, Gareth Hamer sent one in, and this was the discovery of a Quake prototype for the GBA, which obviously wasn't running. It doesn't run in the sort of the best state, as it's not finished. Whether that, they struggled to get it up to a decent enough state to release, I don't know. But I think Metal Jesus, had a video about it. I think it was Metal Jesus. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It makes you wonder with that. We recently talked about the port of OpenLara to the GBA that, does quite a spectacular job of running Tomb Raider on the GBA. Whether, if they can find, a bit of source code for this and use some of the things they've learnt with OpenLara, whether they could actually get Quake up and running on the GBA. Be pretty cool. Wonder if that'll replace Doom runs and everything before long.
So, got one here from Mike James submitted it, and they have got Toy Story 4, the pinball out, and it. You know what? It doesn't look like one I would buy or play. And I'm not trying to crap on it here. It looks like something that would do exceptionally well in like a family fun center, something with a lot of kids. It's very, brightly colored. It looks like a kid's pinball game. And, the Toy Story is, prominent marquee, big monitor in the back glass. And then, of course, the play field has got a monitor in it. And everything has sort of a translucent rainbow look to it. I just don't feel any interest in playing this, but that doesn't mean this, there's more people out there than me, and I think that this could be a great way to get pinball into the consciousness of kids and in front of them. So, hey, go for it.
Yeah. Can't complain with trying to get more people into pinball.
No.
Also submitted by David Gyrich.
Mm-hmm. And I had a
David
pinball
Gyrich.
one that I'm trying to forward on, and it's not really working. It was Pinups and Pinball. It was sent in by Charlie, and it got tagged as spam, so I've maybe deleted it from the mailbox. But it's a scholarly work done about kind of the history of artwork and the use of pinups on pinball machines. And so I went into this thinking, all right, it's going to be, a historical look at pinball artwork and all of that. Turns out that I can picture the person who wrote it. They identify as they. They wear dungarees. I think they've got purple hair. They probably wear Doc Martens. And it is pretty much a rant about how women have been used and abused through the medium of pinball for decades. And it's like it goes into all these different categories, like, is the woman naked? Is the woman showing flesh? Is the woman, bent over in a provocative position? Is a man shouting at her? Are men on the picture staring at her? Is she in danger? And I'm all, fuck. So I read like a couple of pages of it.
This person sounds like they'd be so fun to hang out with and go play.
Oh, man, definitely. You should go play some pinball with this person.
That's somewhat the irony of it. Is you literally could say this person, you are such an unpleasant person that there will be no fun in hanging out with you and playing pinball. Whereas prior to them opening their mouths with this claptrap, you would have never said, I don't want to hang out and play pinball with this person. You would have said, you want to play pinball, let's play pinball. And you wouldn't have given a shit about their personal politics. they literally create the situation that they're objecting to. But yeah, pass.
Yeah. So I read a few.
Damn it.
I read a couple of pages of that and thought, I know where this is heading, and it's not good. So then I skipped to the second half of it, where they show all the pictures they're talking about. So completely defeated the object. I just used it to look at the artwork. There's some nice artwork in there, but yeah, just
Oh yeah.
oh
Did
man.
you ever hear the discussion with David, who owned the National Pinball Museum, and what's his name? What were they were doing the breast wars of the late 70s?
No.
Oh yeah, it's like Bally and Williams kept one upping each other, and it got to the point like with the Kiss pinball where they have the extra bump out on the plastic just for the extra fucking nipple, and they had the modesty decals that like put a lace blouse under the dress of Elvira and stuff. I mean, it's funny shit, but you know what? It's pretty simple. Boys and girls have interlocking parts and they're fun to play with and they like each other. And, women at a bachelor party can look at a man dance or whatever. Men can look at women on a pinball machine and it's just okay. Not everything has to be turned into some sort of fucking meltdown, I can live that way. I just couldn't.
No. So one here from me, and it's called Flashback 2 is on the way. And there's an article on Eurogamer about this. And of course, we're talking about the original Flashback, the Quest for Identity, the Delphine platformer from '92. And there is a sequel coming. Eurogamer say they've had a sneak preview of it, and that's about it. They don't show it, they just show the logo. And it's got the word Flashback and a little number 2, and that's about all they give away. But that's another one that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, they showed a bit of that at the Not E3, the Jeff Keighley show. But it was really hard to sort of get a good feel for what it looked like because they only showed it sort of the video mapped onto like some rotating cube in space, and yeah, it was a very strange way to sort of show it. But I got vibes of Shadow Complex or the most recent Metroid, like that sort of 3D on a 2D plane sort of action game. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I still Flashback and Fade to Black is kind of a bit of a grey area for me. Been meaning for years and years and years to really sort of sit down with them, but I ain't.
Yeah,
something I did sit down with
them.
Something I did sit down with was the Castlevania Netflix series. And David Gyrick has sent in the announcement of Castlevania Nocturne, which looks like they're basing this time around the Rondo of Blood sort of timeline and themes. So if that carries on as good as the previous ones were, then yes, that'll be another one that I shall very much enjoy watching.
Got one here from David Gyrick again. Found and dumped. That's how I like them. The Fairyland Story, unreleased NES Famicom game. So they had Tato, of all things, was doing a port of the Fairyland Story for the NES. And just from the clips here, without doing a deep, it's a 9-minute video, and looks like he goes through quite a bit of detail on it. Excuse me, but it looked like it was, at least parts of it were pretty darn workable. I just wonder how many more games we're going to find over the coming decades. I mean, can you imagine 100 years from now, the lost Mario Brothers 1, export version is found and it has like 2 new levels that we never saw or something? Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows? That anything's possible.
Yeah.
Something else that's possible. I would have gone with, speaking of misogyny, if I was a little bit earlier. Duke Nukem is the next thing that's been announced to get a movie tie-in. The rights have been bought by Legendary Entertainment, and the developers of Cobra Kai and the studio, so at least some of the people from the studio who did the Assassin's Creed film are making. I don't know how far along it is, but they are said to be making a Duke Nukem film, which
No.
the mind boggles what they'll do with that in 2020s.
I just don't see that going well.
No, I know someone who'll write a thesis on it, though. I can't see them doing that. Personally, I'd love to see it, but can't see it happening.
I'm not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd see it, but I don't see it. Did we do another classic getting the ray tracing treatment?
We did not.
Okay, this is from Gareth Hamer. And it is an AMD engineer who has done a mod upgrade stuff on Return to Castle Wolfenstein. It is in the works. Does it say how we'll be releasing it? I'm guessing it will be Steam. It's in very early development, but you can see some screenshots there. I don't know if there's video if you follow the link through to Twitter. But making old games look better. What was the one we watched recently? Was it last month? Was it Doom or GoldenEye?
They did a path trace Doom.
Yeah.
And then we've had Quake 2 path traced as well, which
Yeah.
looks pretty cool. I'm saying this is going to be on Steam. I would imagine it's possibly just going to be sort of a source port. So it's just going to be an engine, a free engine that you just drop if you've got the Return to Castle Wolfenstein assets, drop them in and go, which would be cool. I really enjoyed Return to Castle Wolfenstein when it came out. It's one of the sort of very few FPS games that I've seen through from start to finish. So I could be tempted to check out that again once it's all spruced up.
So, UK, I've got one here that I want you to read. And I looked at it's the one Ninja Baseball Batman revival.
Yes.
And it's from Dave Cook. And he submitted here that what his project, I took a look at it. It's already, it just ticked over the goal. And I think it's an achievable goal. It looks pretty cool. But, Mike, it's a good game. I would love to hear you read this. I'd love to hear you read this email in your Scottish accent.
I need to warm up to a Scottish accent. Let's have a look, because it'll probably fade about halfway through.
And he just from
All right, my name's Dave Cook. I'm a comic book author out of Scotland. I'm currently working with former team designer Drew Mariscalco, I think it says, on an official comic book series that reboots the 1993 arcade beat-em-up Ninja Baseball Batman. I think that's as good as it gets. I did reach out to them today, actually. So just to finish the email, he's currently working.
Emails that Mike's like, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah, he's currently working with former Irem designer Drew Mariscalco. And they are doing, as he says, an official comic series that reboots the 1993 arcade beat-em-up Ninja Baseball Batman. It's currently funding on Kickstarter, as Scott said. It has just ticked over. It's got 9 days to go. He wanted to see if we'd be up for covering the project or interviewing Drew and the comic team on the show. So
we have not really talked to illustrators much, so let's do it.
We haven't. I reached out to him just this afternoon and said, we'll talk about it tonight on Live News, because if we did an interview, your project would be over by the time the show got out, etc. And he's got back to me and said, let us know some times and dates, and we'll do it, because it might be interesting. I know. So Dave is in Scotland. Drew is in the UK somewhere, but the artist is in, where did he say he was?
Excluding Scotland? Or?
He's could be. I'm not sure, but the artist is in the States, so we'll have to plan around them and us. But Yeah. So the guy.
We've practiced for this moment for 12 years. I think we'll be good.
We'll do it. Yeah, so Drew used to work at IREM, and I had a quick read about him today. And I think he started early 90s, so he probably wasn't there when we, think about some of the classic IREM games. But it'd be interesting to get them on and see what they got to say. And as Scott says, we've not talked about really not talked to, I should say, comic people or artist people. So we'll reach out to them and speak to them. Hopefully we'll have that for you next month. Time schedules allowing, of course. But it is funded, so if you're interested in a comic based on Ninja Baseball Batman, go and check the Kickstarter. The link is in the show notes. And sorry, Dave, for the awful Scottish accent. All right, Paul.
No, you're not. Can you say ball bag?
Ball bag.
The one that I like is the one from when there was one of the storms a couple of years ago, and there's just a street, someone filming out of their window, and a big sort of garden trampoline rolls past, and it's just trampoline. Brilliant.
The best one I've seen is, I think it went pretty viral. The guy in the car trying to pair his phone to the Bluetooth in his car. And so he's got them both set up, and the car's saying, to pair to your phone, say the word pair. And he goes, pair. And it says, to pair to your car, say the word pair. And he's going, pair. And he ends up just literally screaming the word as best as he can at the car, and it just won't do it.
I've seen that one. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a good sketch a bit like that Limmy did. Was it Limmy or was it Rab Florence on Berners? I think it might have been Rab Florence and Bernstein with a lift, something with like a voice-activated lift, and Scottish people dig that out. It's quite amusing.
Oh, there's some new girl on YouTube that's just showing up like every Eleanor or something, some redheaded chick. I think she's Scottish. I don't know. She does a good Scottish accent, but she was doing things like the dispassionate Loch Ness tour guide, Like
is she the one that does the whiskey tasting one?
Yeah.
It's like, it's all fucking shit, and you'll just buy a 20 quid's worth in the gift shop anyway and just never look at it.
Yeah. She had some good ones.
Well, back to gaming news, I guess. Unfortunately or fortunately, we have another remake of an old game, and this is Elder Scrolls Daggerfall, which is being remade in Unity and released for free. Called Daggerfall Unity, unsurprisingly. I can't remember. Oh, it's going to be going on. Or it might be already on GOG. So if you want to play Daggerfall a bit, you can kind of play it, because I think they public domained Arena certainly, and maybe Daggerfall. But obviously you had to sort of jump through hoops with DOSBox and shit like that, and it was never sort of quite right. And people had essentially rebuilt it in the Skyrim engine. There's a Skyrim mod and things like that, but I don't know how far any of those projects got. But this, I presume, must be pretty much complete if they're actually releasing it on a store. And like I say, it's free, so why not grab it?
Something else you can grab. It isn't free, sadly, but it is more than funded, and that came in from David Gyrick again. A textbook game on Kickstarter, and it is 50 years of text games from Oregon Trail to AI Dungeon. A definitive book about the first half century of interactive fiction. They were looking for £23,659, and they are currently at £159,994. So five and a bit times the target, with just under 2,000 backers and still 13 days to go. So I did give this a look through. I bought more than enough gaming books for now. I've got loads of them. So I didn't back it. It wasn't the cheapest, but it is a huge thick tome in, like not a packing case, but it's got its own sort of case that you slide the hardback book into. Does look a quality product, and I watched the video they've got on the Kickstarter there. Read a few of the updates and what have you, and they've got sample pages in there like they normally do in these things. Looks interesting. I don't think it's for me, but there you go. If it tickles your fancy, go and back it on Kickstarter.
And got one here that from David Gyrick, and I guess they are remaking old Madden covers, or new Madden remakes old covers. Hopefully, the game itself will be a celebration of the great man. So I guess John Madden, they're releasing a new Madden. Oh yeah, okay. Madden 23 has a picture of, I guess, who I presume is John Madden. So that's what it says. So I believe it is. So yeah, I guess they're doing sort of maybe tribute covers. It says he died at 85. He doesn't look 85 here. So I guess, yep, that's what's going on there.
Yeah, there was one, and it's not highlighted anymore. So someone's clicked on it. It wasn't me. Oh, Lewis likes retro games. Yeah. It was from David Gyrick again. And it's a picture of before last weekend's Canadian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton apparently went out into Montreal, found a Sega Genesis and a copy of Ayrton Senna's Super Monaco GP. And there's a picture of him there playing it before the Grand Prix.
Stretched out to 16 by 9 as God intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of sites picked that up from his Instagram and sort of reported on it, and then me and him had a bit of a chat yesterday or today, I can't remember, about that I have played Mario Kart 64 with Lewis Hamilton back in the day.
Did you beat him?
Can't remember. It's fucking years. This is donkey's years, man.
Say yes.
Yeah, sure did.
There you go. You're better than Lewis Hamilton then.
Apparently so, yeah. I don't play my games in widescreen. I've got a CRT. Wow. Take that. Yeah. You think you're a retro game fan?
I know. Check out this shit. So another one from David Gyrick, The Making of GoldenEye. And this is another Kickstarter. I was expecting a YouTube link there, but no. And this is, again, wow, more than funded. The Making of GoldenEye 007, A History of the N64 Classic, based on exclusive interviews with the game's creators. And this book covers the development and release of Rare's 1997 surprise hit, blah, blah, blah. They were looking for just over £2,000. They are currently just over £19,000. 610 backers, and still 2 weeks to go. So if you want to get in on that book, then you can. You get a digital copy for as little as $6. Now, that's pretty good, actually. That is a good price for a digital. And a paperback is only $15. So that's pretty reasonably priced. Very nice. Hardback is $30. So that's some good pricing on there if you're interested at all in The Making of GoldenEye.
I kind of am.
Yeah, me too. At $6, I'll take the digital.
Mm-hmm. If we split it $3 each, and then
yeah. What a bargain!
Yeah.
We could stretch to $7.50 and get a paperback we could share.
Oh. I'll have it on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Okay. You'll have to drive over.
You get to reading a page, tear it out, and mail it to the other one.
Yeah. But don't forget to read the other side first.
Right?
Or you could drive over in your Nissan Leaf, charging halfway, and then charging halfway home again.
Could do.
Here's something that makes no sense. From Gareth Hamer. Atari celebrates 50 years of gaming.
without a
Atari
break.
hasn't existed. Huh?
Without a single break.
Yeah, Atari hasn't existed in how long? And
30 years.
Yeah, Atari will turn 50 years old. No. Reaching 50 is a special moment for Atari. No, it didn't reach 50. Sorry. Okay, let's see what this guy says. Reaching 50 years is a special moment for Atari, for the industry, and for fans of video games across the globe. We plan to continue celebrating all year, but the week of June 27th will include the announcement of two amazing titles. The release of an interview with our founder, Nolan Bushnell, and special collaboration and preview of merch and collectibles that I know will excite fans. No!
Yeah.
Sorry. It's interesting in the time frame, although it's not been Atari for 50 years, as we know. These things are coming up on 50 years old, starting with, the original Atari, I guess, and we'll slowly start to see these things becoming 50 years old. We talked about it earlier in the history of the show, Pac-Man becoming 40 and things like that. So, yeah, things are going to start rolling around to 50th anniversaries pretty soon.
I remember when Computer Space, it was a big deal that it was 40. It's 50 now. 50. Well, gents, I got to bounce on that note. Any last moment things? Do you guys got anything else you want to continue with, or?
No, I think we're done. We are out of news. Just say thank you to those in the chat. We've had a few join us. We've had a few leave us for Zoom work calls and things like that. And we've got Gregory in there right now, who's trying to say the word pair in Scottish in chat. So, thank you for those who dropped in live. Thank you if you're listening back to it later. And thank you for buying all the Manscaped products. And thank you for listening. And we will see you again next month. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Just one to go. I'm waiting for Scott to say goodnight. Oh, he's gone.
He's
He
gone.
really did have to bounce. Wow.
Yeah, he had to. Them work calls don't hang around for no man.
That's like a Chris Wilkins phone call. Right, I've got to go. Gone. All right, good night, everybody.
I'm well known in the Thursday night multiplayer gaming sessions. Like, we have a party chat, and then I'll just disappear to the kitchen for a while and make a cup of tea and things like that. And everyone, I take my headphones with me, and I can hear everyone going, "Has Lanky just gone again? Is he just gone to bed again like he does sometimes, or what? What's going on? Is he still here? What's happening?"
Well, right now we are about to go.